If you would like to know who the Romans were, their influence over their leaders, and their military tactics, you will enjoy this. Ancient Rome was built at the start of the 18th century before Christ. Though they started as a simple village, they managed to, over the next few centuries, secure most of Europe, some of Asia and Africa, and would span at least 4.4 million kilometers squared. This made it the second largest empire in the world, only beaten by the Mongolian Empire, which had more advanced tools and equipment, which had came almost 9,000 years after the start of the Romans. The Romans believed that Rome was created by two brothers born to a mother who was forced into disallowance to give birth. Even so, she conceived two twins to the war god Mars, foreshadowing to Rome's power in the future, which she named Romulus and Remus. When her brother found out, he sent the siblings afloat upon the Tiber River, where the twins were raised by a she-wolf, a symbol of Mars. After this, a herdsman found them and with his wife raised them. Eventually, with a group of allies, Romulus and Remus took Rome and killed their wicked uncle. In the proceedings after the battle, Remus stepped onto the territory of Romulus and was killed by him. From this comes the name. Before the start of the empire, the kings controlled Rome. They forced many taxes and made many civilians unhappy with how Rome was being led. This led to a jointly successful peasant and aristocratic revolt on the last king of Rome, Lucius Tarquinius Suburcius, who with his son were accused of many ungodly sins, for instance rape, murder, and maltreatment of the Roman people. After they were defeated, the Roman public decided on a Senate, which, although gave some people more power than others, was made by voting, and so was the second democracy of the ancient world, after Greece. After the Senate had come to power, the Romans had decided on three major types of military: the cavalry, the infantry, and the artillery, archers at the time, which used three military tactics. The Romans introduced the most effective shield wall to their infantry units, which did not have the same defect as the Spartan one, as it did not expose any of the troops, which meant that they could be able to advance, rendering artillery generally useless upon them, and then break off and kill their opponents. The cavalry were optimized for small squadrons, killing the opposition's scattered units with curved sabers which were made to cut people's heads off, and the archers were made to clear up the rest. As you see, their technology was diverse enough to take the opposition. Julius Caesar was born in July, which was named after him, 100 BC. He was a famous general who would later go on to make the Romans conquer most of Europe and some of Africa. He grew in popularity with the peasants and the Roman Senate, the accomplishment of many a fleet using the Roman garrison. He was quickly appointed at the top of the Roman Senate with Pompey and Marcus Licinius Crassus. After the death of Marcus Licinius Crassus, Pompey and Caesar broke into civil war to decide who was going to be in power, which ultimately ended with Pompey's death. Caesar himself was assassinated on March 44 BC because of nobles believing he was too autocratic. After Julius Caesar, a range of emperors came, some undoing progress while some. In the times of the last emperor of Rome, Nero, the empire began to fall to the German Franks, who were closing in on the capital of Rome after a series of bloody battles. Not to the tactical superiority of the Franks, but to the sheer number of them, they were overhauling and defeating Rome. It is famously reporting that Emperor Nero was playing the fiddle whilst Rome was being burnt down to ashes.